Diablo 4 has recently come out with an expansion. It's called the Vessel of Hatred. I played the expansion. I'll watch this video talking about it.
Co Carnage here with another thoughts video, this time on Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. I think it's
And
just one.
it's also, yeah, there's only one. It's also really important to note that Vessel of Hatred was Blizzard's last chance at Diablo 4, okay? Just keep that in mind.
Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred is an expansion to the base game Diablo 4.
Yeah.
When Diablo 4 came out, I was looking forward to it. There were a lot of cool promo and materials for it. Some good-looking cutscenes. So I said, you know what? Diablo 4, I'll give you a try.
Okay.
Diablo 4 base game had a lot of problems. But what it didn't have was a story that I disliked. I actually had a very good time with Diablo 4's story.
I think the story was okay, but I didn't realize how bad the Diablo 4 story was until I watched the cinematics for the Diablo 2 story. It's like if you live in a world and you only eat hamburgers, you're going to think hamburgers are good. But the moment that you have a steak and then you turn around and you look back at that hamburger, you realize it can never be the same again.
Some really good cutscenes, some incredible voice acting. I felt like it was pretty good. I had a good time like the whole time in the Diablo 4 base game. Definitely enough to the point where when they announced Vessel of Hatred, I was like, oh yeah, I'm on board. I'm good. Let's go do the expansion.
All right.
You know, if it has the same level of what I got from the base game, we're good. Hopefully, I went in saying, maybe we'll get a little more. Maybe we're going to get something that's really going to... yeah, we didn't.
Yeah.
Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred is pretty much more of the same, except it didn't have what I liked from the base game.
So the campaign sucked a big fat dick. That's what he's trying to say. He's trying to be nice. Trying to say it sucks big dicks. Massive dicks. Huge.
Feel is the icing on the Diablo cake. One thing about Diablo is Diablo has always been the game, the cake. But then there's been this frosting on it that Blizzard has always managed to do, of cutscenes, of world design, of music, that has kind of made that cake really attractive, at least for like one playthrough, right? Like there's two different types of Diablo playthroughs. You've got like the people that do the main story and enjoy the cinematics and enjoy the story. And then you have the people that are just playing for the cake, the end game runners, the hardcore players, those kind of guys. I am one of the first people. I play Diablo for the story, for the cinematic.
So he had a bad time. Because I've watched some of the gameplay. So the strongest build right now in Diablo 4 is a build where you just spam spacebar.
I'm not going to press any of my skills, by the way. None of them. This is Torment 3. Do you like moving at the speed of light and auto one-shotting every single thing in the game? Well, this is what you can look forward to if you need to play this build. All I am doing is spamming evade. Just spamming evade, and everything dies.
He's not even hitting any skills.
The going to help you. The centipede is going to help you do more damage. The armor hide is going to keep you alive. And it's also has functionality to make you do more damage from one of your...
This is the way the game is now. That's right. What I'm saying is that the end game is impressively stupid. It is impressively stupid. Would you play this build? I probably will. Yes, if I play the game more, I will probably play that build because it's the best build.
For all that stuff. Which is why...
As a PoE enjoyer, I resent that. Here's the difference between Diablo 4 and PoE. Being able to achieve that effect in PoE, like having Word Loop, is the accumulation of 70 hours of gameplay. Being able to do it in Diablo 4 is just using 2 items at the same time. The barrier to entry and the ability to activate gameplay like that is so easily accessible that it doesn't feel like it's earned. That's the way I feel.
Base game was pretty good. However, I have to say that the expansion for me, going in with the expectations that I had, was a very large letdown.
Oof.
Especially when you factor in the price.
Oh, how much was it?
There is a new class called Spiritborn, which I thought was okay. I had an okay time with it. If I were to play it again, I probably wouldn't pick the class. But it's a cool class. Has some cool mechanics.
$40.
That's pretty fun.
Wait, did they have early access for the expansion? I mean, I assume they did, right? No? Wow.
Cool merc stuff, which may or may not have been in the game already, but I hadn't played since release. And there's some other little mechanics here and there that were nice. But I mean, nothing that I would say is enough to qualify the price tag. Now, what I thought would qualify the price tag was more big, awesome cutscenes.
Right.
Some really cool story being told. Some great new characters.
Yeah.
That is not what I got from the expansion.
Oh.
The dialogue writing is mostly okay. And I'm talking about...
No, it's not. This is what the dialogue was in this game. This is the dialogue. This was the dialogue for the new expansion.
Mixtapes.
Get ready.
You got me beat up in
Here, I'll type it for you guys.
so hard to wink it. This that weepy scene. Hey, you talking about? Real weak on bro. Knock your block down, whole hand around. With a folk finna move out of town. Off the whip and try to get off your drop.
Oh.
Out the way, but y'all move out of town. Off the whip,
Hit the wrong button.
Crown. Shit.
This is the whole thing. This is the whole campaign right here. That's it.
You got me beat up with it. Hit your heart the weepy. This that weepy scene. Hey, you talking about?
Still better than the KSI song. Anyway, so yeah, that's really the way I see it. Half of the dialogue wasn't even words. It was just some bullshit.
The actual sentences the characters say to each other. The voice acting is great. The voice acting and the presentation, that's something that Blizzard has always done well. The world is beautiful. There were, I'd say, a couple cutscenes that definitely made me, whoa, this is cool. But
True. There were a couple of good ones. They did. To be fair, they had a couple of good ones.
Far less than I thought. And there was also, and this is the part that we really have to talk about. The overall writing of this expansion.
Bro, how's he even thinking about this? It's obviously an upgrade. Put it on. Anyway.
Is not good writing.
What's he saying?
Writing of this expansion is not good writing. In my opinion.
It's a fact. It's a fact. Everybody knows it's a fact. What did Quinn do when he finished the campaign? Can anybody remember me about that? He uninstalled the game.
The overall writing of this game is rather objectively not good. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it's very clear there's been themes in previous Diablos.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the fact that the world is dark, that everything is bad, that, you know, it's okay for evil to win because we'll get them next time kind of stuff. But in this expansion, I felt like they were playing in a lot of themes that I think are more tropey to today's day and age. And they were leaning into them at times uncomfortably hard. And where I was just going like, this isn't Diablo. Like, this isn't it.
Oh my God. Yes. Fucking exactly. Yes. This is Ko being nice. It's just like, I remember like when I finished the campaign, I didn't even really I didn't even know what to do. I didn't know, like, I didn't really have like, I didn't really like, I mean, I had no idea like what, like, I was just like, okay, you know, because I had finished it and it was done. I was like, there it is. It just happened.
It was also very bland. I kind of got the same feeling as I did in Pillars of Eternity's 2 story, where I was just kind of like following along for a lot of the story, kind of chasing someone, and I kind of knew what was going to happen the whole time until the end. Fair enough. They did mix it up at the end. But the big thing that I think that really stuck out to me is, you know, good storytelling is a lie. It's a lie.
Okay.
And the lie has to be told well for you to believe it. And if you believe you become invested.
Exactly. It's unbelievable because of how stupid it is. Like, how the fuck does Eru, this random fucking guy, you get stabbed in the heart, he just resurrects you out of fucking nowhere, and he gonna believe in Mephisto? You're gonna believe the demon of hatred? He literally is a prime evil. It's in his fucking name. Like, what is this? But, oh, no, it's going to be okay. No, he's telling me the truth. Oh, for sure. And then, oh, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's not, well, we don't know. He's not going to tell us where he took the body. All right, well, let's torture him. Well, torture's bad. Really? Why is it that in every single dungeon, there are half of the assets in the game are torture devices? Think about it. Like half, like look at everything. It's all torture devices. But we can't torture him? Why can't we pull his fingernails out? Why can't we stab him? We can poke him. You're telling me you can't do some magic torture shit like in Infinity War? You're telling me you can't mind? Why not? What a bunch of bull, because we're the good guys? So what? I mean, America was the good guys and we had Guantanamo Bay, right? That's fine. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. That's life.
And when you're invested in a story,
yes,
you don't really ask a lot of questions.
Exactly.
Because
it makes
you
sense.
Like what you're doing. You're engaged with it. You're invested. You're along for the...
Well, it makes sense. That's a big problem. Like, a lot of story, it didn't make sense.
Ride. You bought the ticket. You took the ride.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of Diablo games have gotten me invested. And they've gotten me invested to the point where I'm just like, cool, Diablo's back for the third time. Whatever, story stuff, music's beautiful. Like, let's keep going. Sure, I'll kill like, let's go. But I feel like that in this last expansion in particular, this game has gotten to the point where it's so assembly lined that even though parts of the game have the focus that we've come to know and love, other parts have really suffered. And one of those parts is the writing, the overall writing.
It's because they can't write a good story. Like the original, I'm going to be honest. Wow. So the original story is that. So you've got the church and the demons. But get this. The church is actually the bad guys. And the demons is actually the good guys. What? Oh my God. What? Oh my God. What is going on? How does this keep happening? It's so fucking played out and boring.
Where there are now like such giant gaps in terms of making areas immersive, making areas look believable, making areas look good. That this is the first expansion I've played from a Diablo game where there were enough of those cracks that I stopped believing the lie of the story.
Oh.
And the problem there is when I started seeing the light through the cracks were everywhere.
Yeah, you see the man behind the machine, and then the immersion is lost. Yep.
Like everywhere. Like almost every little situation you'd come across, you'd be like, oh, would this exist in real life? How did the people that live here deal with this? Is this a realistic approach to this problem? And the answer is almost no in every case.
Right.
Like it just becomes like completely unimmersive, contrived, and the whole thing feels lazy. And that's what happened to me about midway through this.
Damn.
And I started really looking, like the facade fell away, and I started looking at every encounter and every little event, and I'm being like, does this make sense? Does it make sense the characters are doing this? Does it make sense this place exists? Does it make sense? And the answer is no. Like, for a lot of it. It just doesn't make sense. It's not immersive. It doesn't make sense that your character walked into a place that 1,000 other people had tread and this thing happened to your character that other people had not had happen to them a million times. Like you just keep the curtain and that's what stinks, because I feel like good writing answers those questions you don't know you have. But
I think the best example of this is Tolkien. So, and also I think that Harry Potter does this as well, is that good stories have layers of complexity that make them better. Bad stories have layers of inconsistency that make them worse. It's the onion analogy. Again.
Like writing when it's just done on autopilot, like there's no connective. A good way to say it is I feel like the beginning of Game of Thrones to the end of Game of Thrones, where there is this real effort you can see being made to craft a believable, awesome world. And then you get to this point where you're just like, wait a second, what happened to that world? Like, what happened to that believable, like, you know, you were making efforts, things were immersive and interesting. Like, where's that? Because
I think the real problem, like, he's totally right about everything, by the way. He's right about everything. The problem is that Game of Thrones started diverging too much from the books. How many of you guys would say that Game of Thrones, I think season 4 was really good, and I think after season 4 it started to get worse. There were really good episodes after that, and there were some elements of it that were very good after that, but in general, the quality declined. The reason why that happened is that it took George R.R. Martin years to write these books and to make everything make sense and come together. What do you think the odds are that two random dumbos that didn't even write the story in the first place are able to do even half as good of a job as him? Well, I know what the odds are. They were 0% because it didn't happen. So there you go. And that's what happens. And a lot of these people think that they can write these stories, but good writing is actually, it's very hard to do. And I think that a lot of people, the other problem that I think a lot of people have with good writing is that, let me think of a way to put this. I don't know how to say this in the right way. I'll take season 5 was really good. Yeah, I think if you like season 5, that's fair. I didn't think it was as good, but it was fine. So, like it was a decline, right? And so season 5 was towards the top of that decline. That's fine if you think that.
We are now is not there. We're not there anymore. I don't know exactly when we got to this point, but we're not there. So I'd love to see us return to that in games like this, especially for players like me, where, again, I'm not playing Diablo for the numbers. I'm not playing Diablo for the spreadsheets. I'm playing Diablo to be told your story. And I want you to lie to me. And I want to be brought with that lie all the way through your story, believing it the whole time.
It's the people that write that make the stories are boring. I think that's the problem. They're boring, and all of their ideas of like trouble and like issues and problems are oftentimes these like very contrived and unrelatable things. And I think that that's one of the reasons why a lot of these modern stories aren't very good, is because they're written by theater kids that have never had to experience any degree of hardship or frustration in their entire life, or the frustration that they have is like so compartmentalized that it's unrelatable. And I think that's really what happens, is that, like, for example, like Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings after he was in World War I, right? And a lot of these stories are written either with like a tremendous amount of care and like thinking, or they're written as like a result of like a very important life experience. It's about the delivery. Yeah, exactly. It's because they keep trying to make Goku ripoff. I don't know about that. Who the fuck plays an ARPG for the story? Well, I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people really like the story in Diablo 2. A lot of people used to really like the Warcraft story. To act like it's weird that like people say that, because like we would never say that back in the day. Yeah, the story, the story made it even cooler. Like, yeah, the game is fun, but like the story was like that multiplier. It's like, not only is it fun, but it also is badass. Watch this. It's like Inarius and fucking, you know, whatever, not Inarius, Imperius and Diablo fighting. It's really cool.
And this expansion did not do that for me. There is enough failure points in the writing to where the building collapsed.
Yeah.
And I really, really hope that the right people that make these decisions hear this, because man, do I hope they don't continue on this path. We just need a couple really good writers to like oversee everything, make sure it all connects, like go to each area, ask yourself.
It's never going to happen. Once a studio loses that writing talent, and once they try taking a soft, modern approach to storytelling, which I think Diablo does do, because Blizzard does this, and Diablo is a product of Blizzard. If you have an apple tree, you're going to get apples from it. You're not going to get an orange. There's never going to be a watermelon that falls out of that tree. It's not going to happen. It's done. That's it. It's not coming back. It didn't come back with Diablo 3. It was like already not great with Diablo 3. And then Diablo 4 base story, I think, was very mediocre. There were only like 2 or 3 good points in it. The rest of it was stupid. And I think Vessel of Hatred was about the same thing. Probably maybe 1 or 2 instead of 2 or 3. That were good.
Is this believable? Does this make sense? Like just, you know, just
Yeah.
just a little bit of extra, and then just fix it here and there. Like, for instance, I will say this. And no, you know what? I'm not going to say this because I'm going to say it at the end of the Thoughts video because it's spoilery. That's the end of this Thoughts video. This Thoughts video was a little rambling and honestly probably shows my age a little bit as well. As I get older, I tend to pay more attention to things like, is this immersive? Is this, you know, like
I think that a lot of people care about it, and they care about it in a way that they don't even really fully understand. So I think that people see that this kind of stuff is bad, but they're not like actively experiencing it. So what ends up happening is that they're like, oh yeah, you know, I just didn't really get into it. And so people that are like younger don't like it, but they don't know why they don't like it. It's not like people that are younger like it. It's just that they don't have like that foundation to understand why.
I realize that too. But I will say that I don't feel that anything I've said is inaccurate. And I before I said this video and before I made this video, I did kind of make sure to check with myself, like don't go too far off script here. But yeah, I do feel like that yeah, that is kind of the state that it was. Like that is kind of where we are. And yeah, and I hope that this isn't a sign of things to come. And I hope we see a little bit more cogency inside the games. But on that note, I'm going to go yell at some clouds.
No.
As always, I appreciate you watching this Thoughts video. The TLDR at the end of this rant is the expansion's okay. It's okay. It's not their best work.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite expansion. I was really hoping for something better.
5.
And it's
5.
It's not that great. But it was not bad enough for me to swear it off. And I really do hope that we see them, again, focus a little bit more on the weaker aspects of the chain in the future. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Thoughts video. There will, of course, be more. And I will see you then for them. Bye-bye.
There it is. Well, I completely agree with everything he said. Because suspension of disbelief is important. Breaking that immersion destroys the experience. No, it's not that it doesn't make sense logically. It's that the message insists upon itself. Yeah, I think so. And I just think that, like, the story, I just don't really think that it was that interesting in a lot of cases. And I don't really think it was great. I think that also a lot of people talk about the gameplay in the game, but I actually think that Diablo 4 at like a very basic combat level is an extremely messy game that's not well designed. And what I mean by that is that there are times where your character will not be in circles and it will take damage. There are attack patterns that are not very well telegraphed. There are boss fights that don't really play very well. And I just think that in a lot of cases, like, so here's a good example of that. Here we go. Okay, so you see how the knights are charging here? You see this? And you have to, like, avoid getting attacked there. Okay, that's the first one. Now we're gonna get the second one. This is the same fundamental mechanic.
You do not have the strength, passion.
That may be, but I am not alone.
This, by the way, is the in-game music. It's not like this is like put on for like some bullshit.
Incineration.
I hate those balls. Way fucking better. Easier to see, cooler, better dialogue. Everything is better. And it's like you look at how washed out this is, how hard it is to see what you need to avoid. It's just like, this is what I was talking about how the game is messy. It's just a messy game that's not well designed. And I think that this is the case with a lot of instances of stuff in Diablo 4. And I wish more people would notice that and talk about this more than they talk about like the story being bad or something like that. It's a shame. It really is. It's a huge shame. And so actually, let me link you guys the Co-Carnage video I just got done watching. But like, I completely fucking agree with what he's saying about this. I really do. And the Maven fight is crazy. Yeah, but the Syrian Exarch one I think is the coolest. Most people don't play games. They remain that wasting time. Yeah, I think so. Thamine raid is better than Diablo 4.
Hi, everybody.
Well,
Co-Carnage
yeah,
here.
but Thamine is like a whole. I mean, like that's like a raid, so it's a little bit different. PoE is way worse in that regard. You have to admit to that. If you play PoE, you have no idea what's going on. Yeah, but the thing is that most of the time, so here's the big difference, is that the reason why you don't have any idea what's going on in PoE is because of how many spell effects are happening at the same time and the like the spell effect interactions, right? Because there's so much stuff happening. That's different. If you actually watch the boss fight, and almost any boss fight in PoE, there is relatively good visuals. It's just that the character and the way that characters are designed in that game make it harder to see everything. Diablo 4 is different in this regard, because Diablo 4 at a base level is less legible. PoE becomes less legible, but Diablo 4 starts that way. That's the difference. No, your eyes must be going just like your teeth. That this is so untrue. So you think that the visuals, like, I'm okay. So let me read this. So let me get this straight. You think that Diablo 4 has like good boss visuals? Do you think that Diablo 4 has good telegraphing for boss abilities? I think it's good. Okay.
Vice crystal area. Easy to new slam, so shouldn't be found, which also need to be avoided. Luckily, this is very easily tell.
You think that's good? I think that looks like shit. It gets worse.
So shouldn't be too challenging.
You have a character spell effect that has the same color as the boss effects. It gets better. I want to wait for another one.
Into the ground and begin to channel, causing a series of 4 ice.
This is awful.
4 icy explosions targeted at your location. These explosions release 5 icy waves in a pentagonal formation.
Everything is
this,
white. Yeah.
Try moving in an arc around the boss, and if you see one of the lines projected under your character, adjust and move out of the effect. Also, if you have a source of a wave of the attack. But aside of that, there's also one other interesting thing for Phase 3, which is the blizzard that closes.
This is the best part.
I'm able to find plenty of opportunities to
Here we
burst
go.
him down. During the intermissions, I can't really damage the boss, so I don't worry about it too much. And instead, I just focus on dealing with the adds and avoiding getting knocked into the storm. After the intermissions, when the boss becomes active again, I'll go back to beating on it and kill it in short order.
I'm sorry, but that's fine. You guys think that's fine? Okay. I think it's garbage. I think it's absolute garbage. Yeah, it could be better. It's fine. I think it's total garbage. You're proving my point? About our eyes rotting? My eyes are rotting? No, I'm not. Like, so, and this is the problem that a lot of people have, right? Is that you're turning this into being a personal attack. I beat this boss before. I beat Uber Lilith, but the fight's bad. It's not about whether you can beat it or not. Like, I know that every time that we talk about video game difficulty, people have to turn this into an ego thing. That's not what we're talking about here. It's about whether the visuals are easy and clear to see, and whether they're communicated to the player in a way that makes sense. I think that it's bad design to have a ground effect that has the same color as the ground. I think it's really annoying to have that happen. I think that WoW does the exact same thing. So I'll give you a really good example of how bad this is in World of Warcraft. Is that the last boss in Court of Stars got massively nerfed because they changed the color of a spell effect. Remember, it was the charge. It's awful. It's a Blizzard thing. Yeah, it's absolutely awful. And so, like, no, I think that this is an objective fact, that these spell effects are terrible. It's crazy. It's like the same as Uber Lilith. Like, you'll get killed by waves and you're not in the wave visually. You know why that happens? It's because the game's bad. It's that simple. So it's a very, very simple policy. If your character is not visually inside of a mechanic, it shouldn't take damage from that mechanic. It's that simple. Yeah, the size is also not clear. Exactly. Guy got pulled up before. He's a very combative chatter. No, he's getting banned. But I just wanted to say that, like, this is keep glazing PoE and hitting Diablo. We clearly won't reach a middle ground. No, we won't. He's just a shit-talking retard who's trying to make it he's trying to turn this into a personal attack. It has nothing to do with my personal opinion. The reality is that these spell effects are very badly done. Uber Lilith is the exact same way. Like, if you look at, for example, let's look at another one. So, you look at these circles here. You have to run away from these. You have to avoid these. Look at that. Look how fucking annoying that is to avoid. Red balls on a red ground with red spell effects, which, by the way, one of these singular things will one-shot you. They're hard to see. It is awful. And Blizzard even acknowledged that it's awful because they changed them. That's how fucking bad it was. And you can see how the color here, it is very easy to tell where they are. I called this out the moment that I did this. I said, this is garbage. Their movie, they're easy to distinct. Blizzard disagreed. They fixed it. They did. This is a huge issue. And I wish that people would be more focused on helping games become better rather than trying to stroke their own ego about being able to overcome bad fights. I see this happen all of the time. People that are garbage, people that are not even garbage, people that they want games to be garbage so they can feel good about beating them. It's so fucking annoying. Being able to overcome bad game design does not make it good game design. And I wish more people realized that.